Welcome back to a special episode of Real Friends Podcast. Jordan and I, despite being on two screens, are sitting directly beside each other. Hi, Jordan.
Hello, Alex. Yes, he is here and I am here.
And we are releasing a podcast on a movie that came out today. On Friday. So this is Friday. I'm releasing this on Monday when you'll be listening to it. And we went to watch A Working Man. So it did work out with Jordan's schedule that we were able to go. Him being a construction worker, it worked out for us to go watch a movie about a construction worker. That's pretty badass.
It was so minimal how much actual construction work was being done in this movie.
Basically, all the construction you saw in the trailer is all the construction that happened in this movie.
I will say the opening shot with the opening credits and everything was kind of cool. It was going from military set piece with showing a little bit of backstory where Jason Statham's character, Levin, he ended up getting wounded, and that was the fellow that got the head wrapped. Trying, as you find out, and we're jumping way ahead, there's an individual that we meet later in the movie named Gunny. He's a guy that Levy, Jason's character, ended up saving. He's blind, etc. And they show that in the opening credits while intersplicing him going into the working field after military.
Yeah, that part of the credits was good. I looked at you during the beginning and asked you to write down a number for me, and the number was 4. And the reason for that is part of something I really hate about movies in the theater right now. Obviously, I don't like that there's 30 minutes of credits.
Yep.
But then we get to the movie, and all of the production companies that worked with the movie all have to have their little freaking thing, and there were 4 of them in this movie. And here's my problem with it. I know you're working on it. I know you're a part of it. Thank you for making movies. But immediately after that, you go into actual opening credits, and you tell us all of your names anyhow again. Yes. So why do I need that? That adds an extra, 2 minutes to the beginning of the movie that I don't need. And most of them are uninteresting. They spent so much money on the marketing for that. It's not interesting.
Have you modern video games? I've noted that's a correlation that I've seen, that a lot of the older ones, especially during the brand wars for graphics cards, AMD and Nvidia, they tended to plays better with Nvidia or something like that. The way it's meant to be played. But then there were the Havoc engine. There was the splash screen
Right.
for Warner Brothers games, stuff like that.
That's what it feels like. It feels like a video game, And I don't know. It's a little pet peeve of mine. Obviously, I love movies and I do these all the time, so I'm not going to stop going to the movies. But if you could, maybe not, that'd be awesome. But yeah, like I said, we're reviewing A Working Man, and we're going to be looking at notes. We're going to be looking at our phone because we did just leave the theater. So this is an instant reaction. A Working Man, like I said, came out today, March 28th. It was directed by David Ayer. And I didn't realize how many David Ayer movies I actually really enjoyed. So he was a writer on Training Day, and the original The Fast and the Furious. He was a writer on SWAT, which I don't know if you've ever seen that. That's Colin Farrell, Samuel L. Jackson. They're like a SWAT team.
That's one that I've ended up seeing on TV in a hotel room.
It's on TV. It's like on TNT all the time. Yes. I think that movie's great. He also worked on End of Watch, so he was the director on that. So he was director on End of Watch. He was the director on Fury, that World War II movie. He was the director on the really shitty Suicide Squad. In 2016, he was the director and the writer for that. So it is mostly his fault, but he was also under the DC umbrella, so whatever. He was the director. He did not write the movie Bright, that Netflix original with Will Smith. And Joel Edgerton as an alien thing, or a troll. I think he's a troll. I thought the movie was fine. And then last year, he came out with The Beekeeper with Jason Statham. Then obviously this year they did A Working Man. So he was the director, and I told Jordan right at the very, very beginning, I leaned over and I was like, I think this is going to be like that latest Rambo movie. Funny enough, 2 seconds later, it tells us Sylvester Stallone was a writer on this.
Yes, it said Balboa Studios or something like that.
Yep. And then it said Stallone produced it. As soon as I saw Balboa, I was like, that's Stallone. So, Stallone was the primary writer, at least according to IMDb, and then David Ayer, and then a guy named Chuck Dixon, and we know him from the animated Harley Quinn series. And that's pretty good. So he mostly makes animated comic shows. And that's a good tie into this movie because it felt like a comic book movie. And not in a bad way. like not in a bad way at all.
No, the action scenes were very tight.
Yeah.
It was very lively. Uh, Jason Statham. I hope I'm pronouncing Statham right. Or
You are,
okay.
yeah, for sure. I
Uh,
mean, at least that's what everyone's called him forever. So
uh,
if it's like Statham, I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
but yeah, Jason Statham. It seemed like they were taking a little bit of liberties with him. I get it; it's a power fantasy movie, but
Yeah.
and he's a superhero in it.
Sure.
Let's face it.
Yeah.
It felt like I was watching what was the Fast and Furious tie-in with him and The Rock?
Oh, Hobbs and Shaw.
Hobbs and Shaw, yeah,
Yeah.
where they couldn't one up each other.
Yeah.
He did take a little bit of a beating here and there. He wasn't invincible, but
Pretty damn close.
I was expecting him to get shot at least once because
Yeah.
he had the bulletproof vest on at one point.
He attacks enemies like I play Max Payne 3.
Yeah.
You just walk in and start blasting.
Yep, absolutely.
But, you know, all that to be said, like, look, man, you know, I texted the guys in the Forest Film Club and said I had a lot of fun with this, and it was the most packed theater I've seen in a long time.
I would agree with that. I haven't been to as many movies as you've been to lately. However, the theater that I could compare it to, and I mean, it's apples to oranges, was Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah,
I mean, that was packed. But
that's what I would compare it to too. I haven't seen a movie recently, and I even went to see A Death of a Unicorn today, which also came out today. There are like 5 people in that showing, so yeah, it was the most people. We walked in, there was actually security in there, like
just watching.
Yeah, I don't know what he was doing. I think his girlfriend was in the crowd or something. I don't know, but it was mostly like older people too, like on a date night. And the one guy beside us was so funny. He kind of sounded like Shrek a little bit, because anytime something happened, he'd be like, oh, oh, like it was. I couldn't stop looking at him because it was really funny.
I did make note of a specific movie that I'm excited to see. It was starring Josh Hartnett.
Yep.
Fight or Flight
Yeah.
is the title of
Fight
it.
or Flight. That was supposed to come out in January, I think, and they pushed it back. But so Kyle and I just recently watched Bullet Train. Finally, we told you it was gonna happen. We did watch it, but we didn't do a review. I don't know if we're going to. If you really want us to do Bullet Train, let me know, because I'm sure we will. We loved it. This movie feels like Bullet Train on an airplane. Like a bunch of assassins. It's an action comedy, which I'm excited for. Because coming out of Trap last year, the M. Night Shyamalan movie with Josh Hartnett, I was hoping it wasn't going to go that route. I don't hate that movie. I think that movie's fine. It's one of Shyamalan's better ones, in my opinion, other than his daughter being a lead actress, and she's garbage. You know, I thought he was going to take this as a serious role, and he's not. It's an action comedy, and it looks like a lot of fun.
It does. That perked me up for movie preview. I'm hoping they didn't, hypothetically shoot their load in just that preview alone,
Sure.
and that's just like all the trailer shots and
Right.
hey, here's your movie. It's boring. Oh, actually boring. Action.
And we've seen movies like that.
Yes.
I mean, Avengers, Age of Ultron. You know, like watching it now, I like it. I like it a lot. But the trailer gave everything away.
Yes.
So I understand why the guys in the Forest Film Club don't watch trailers, because this can happen. But I'll never not watch trailers, because if I don't know what's coming out.
Well, and funny that you say that. Another one that popped up, and folks, we apologize if the microphone quality's not up to snuff. We're sharing a singular microphone at the moment, and it's much better whenever it's me directly, but I have to modify it a little bit here.
It's fine.
That being said, Sinners, I feel like it gave away a big plot point, and you can watch the trailers for it, folks. It looks like Michael B. Jordan. He's playing 2 characters.
Right, brothers.
Brothers, correct. And they show in the trailer, and you can see this, his one brother, whatever's going on in this movie, possession, ghosts.
They're vampires.
Vampires, okay, I didn't know the background.
Yeah,
of
they're
it.
vampires.
It looks like his brother was infected, and it's like, well, shit,
That's the major issue I have with this trailer, because I am so pumped for that movie, and I wish I never watched the trailer, but the trailer's great. Like, the use of music is great. I'm hoping that's a big part of the movie, but they gave away a lot of who gets infected.
Yes.
Like, a lot of characters that you see at the beginning of the movie clearly aren't at the beginning of the trailer. They're infected later, and I feel like that ruined it. I really do.
I agree with that. What was the third movie that popped up there? It was after Sinners.
Amateur.
Amateur looks exciting as well. Remy
Malik.
Remy Malik. Thank
Yep.
you. I am not good with names. I'm good with faces. I know that actor.
Well, we talked about him on our Back to the Future
Yeah.
3 podcast because he was in the video game Until Dawn.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm very, very, very. Is that the first you've seen that trailer?
Yes, it is, and I love an underdog action movie like that. It's somebody who is not he's not John Wick, he's not a trained killer.
Yep.
It is very much as the trailer is saying, he's one of the best that the CIA has built. His entire built the entire infrastructure,
Yep.
Watchdog style.
Yep.
And it very much seems he's using his wits to set up these elaborate traps. I love the very first one they showed. There's a device that's been pressurizing this pool that's above the skyline, basically, that's going to break. I don't know her. You're a bad liar. It starts to crack. The guy's trying to swim away and woof, down to the ground.
That's another trailer I kind of have problems with though, because it shows you how he kills 2 of the people.
Yeah.
So how many is he killing? Like, did you just give me away to, like 30%, 40% of who's gonna die?
Yeah. Is it 5 guys?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Great burger establishment, but I'm hoping it's more than 5 people he's taken down in the movie. But yeah, no, that looks awesome. I think all 3 of these movies are coming out in April. So, I said March was going to be a big month for movies. It has been. March has been a phenomenal month for movies. Mm-hmm. April looks good too. I said it on our very first podcast, and I truly believe this. This year is going to be a great year for movies. It already, to me, feels better than last year.
It's been shaping up with a lot of the stuff that's been coming out, and they've been banger after banger for the most part.
We've had some duds for sure. Mm-hmm. Like Love Hurts was a dud. I really wanted to like that movie and I didn't. But yeah, we've had a lot of good movies. But we're not here to talk about all those. We are here to talk about what we watched tonight. So yeah, we went to see Jason Statham's A Working Man. So because the movie came out today, I don't want to give away the entire plot. But I do want to talk through it, and we'll do this kind of similar to what we did with our the Monkey review, because Kyle and I reviewed that right after we watched the movie. So, first and foremost, give me initial impressions. What did you think of this?
I really enjoyed it. It was, I don't want to sound like I'm kissing the movie company's ass here. It's been a while, I want to say, since John Wick, I've been this entertained by an action movie. It was cliche, it was campy, but, it hit all the right buttons for me. It was Jason Statham's character. He was a badass, and I kind of had an idea what I was getting into going to one of his movies at this point, and it didn't disappoint.
Especially on the heels of Beekeeper. Last year.
Yeah.
I told you I've watched some of that. I want to watch the whole thing, especially now after this. I feel like Jason Statham just doesn't age.
No, he's got one of them faces.
Yeah, he has a little bit less hair than he did in the Italian Job and the Transporter movies.
Yeah.
But that's about it. We kind of made fun of this movie on our first podcast, saying, stop me if you've heard this, but Jason Statham plays an ex-military guy that goes back into his life of military, training to save someone he just met. But yeah, dude, this is probably one of my favorite Statham movies. I really, really enjoyed this, and I think that this felt like an early 2000s action movie. Coming out in 2025, and I feel like we don't really get these anymore. If they come out, they're like action comedies, like Hitman last year, that had some of the same feels in terms of the action, but it was a comedy. This is not a comedy. This is a serious action movie, and it feels like a Sylvester Stallone movie. So 80s action star, that's what it felt like.
Stallone, Schwarzenegger. I mean, it had some of those little. Jason Statham had a chance to shine as Levin Cade here and there, and he did have a couple of good one-liners, if you want to call them that. Whenever it comes to, it's the Russian mafia basically is who the antagonist of the film ends up being, and he just. What was the one that he said? He was in the back of the van or something, and he's like, "Oh, they were trying to tie his feet up," and it was something along the lines of.
Well, these 2 guys looked like Tweedledee and Tweedledum, right?
Orange and blue jumpsuits,
super colorful outfits, and he's like, "Is this your get up? What?" They're like, "What do we look like to you?" And he goes, "You look like your mom dresses you badly."
I can't remember the brand it was, but yeah, they made note of it. It's designer.
Well, they go, they said it's our something, I don't know. Yeah. It's our look. It's our brand. That's what they said. Yeah.
It wasn't an Adidas tracksuit, but it's like a modern age Gopnik.
Yeah.
Whenever you look at the the stereotypical Russians that are in the Adidas tracksuits with the gold chains and stuff, that's what these guys looked like.
Yeah.
It was almost like blue camo and orange camo
Yeah.
almost.
Well, and you see, throughout time, right, with these action movies that when there's usually a big villain in the world, like after 9/11, every single movie, it was a, Middle Eastern terrorist was the enemy. I'm hoping we're getting back to when it's like the Russian mob.
Yeah.
Because they're so interesting, right? And Russia's kind of a big enemy of like the people in the United States right now. So
And
like,
it was fitting to the time for it, absolutely. Right. It's the WWE mentality of it that we have to have a foreign menace so that you can get because most of the shows are in the U.S. You have to get the U.S. crowd pumped up somehow, and if it's a cheap pop, it's a cheap pop. I mean, more credit to you.
Yep. Absolutely. So, yeah, we'll jump right into it. Levin Cade is a former military guy, like we said, and he's the leader of a construction team. And very early in the movie, it shows us that, he's like the foreman on the job.
He absolutely is.
Yeah, and he, like, it shows that he's definitely been a part of a team because he's bringing everybody together. He's showing them that he cares. They do a little, all hands in thing. Like, it was really cool to see that. And then we meet the teenage daughter, Jenny, yes, thank you. Yeah, we meet Jenny, who's the daughter of the owners of the company. And we find out pretty clearly then that Jenny kind of gets whatever she wants.
She's a bit spoiled, yes. Yeah. That being said, the father later on does make note that she gave up a music scholarship for business for college.
She wanted to be like her dad.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
So she's a daddy's girl. So I mean, she played that role really well. Jenny is 100% the comedic relief in this movie.
She really was. She had her moments to shine as well. Just the little build up.
Yeah.
For once, you made a comparison to the newest Rambo movie, and from what you saw in the trailer and everything, we were expecting this to be
like a damsel in distress that can't do anything for herself.
She was like it seemed to be building up to that, and I was sitting there like, okay, because it's like, okay, she's getting sold into
it's basically
human trafficking.
Taken.
Yeah.
Like with Liam Neeson. Yeah, that's what I thought it was going to be.
And I'm glad it didn't go into the extreme that the newest Rambo movie did.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the movie. It was a good action flick as well.
It was fine. It was the weakest Rambo movie by far.
I cringed a little bit. I don't even want to say that I cringed in like a negative way. It made you feel like I know this is going on in the world. It's just this wasn't Rambo until the end of the movie type deal. With that film.
Yeah.
To this movie's credit, Jenny fights back.
Yeah.
And she does very well.
She's they show us she's a medal winning, karate expert or whatever.
And her grandfather, funny enough, folks, everybody that Jason's character ends up meeting seems to be, they're military, but they all seem to have a similarity where they were all paratroopers. Yeah. Because Jenny's grandfather was a paratrooper. He was a Green Beret, as stated by her father later.
Yep. Yep. So, we meet Jenny, and then, pretty quick, and this was, I don't want to say an issue I had with the movie, but they present a conflict that you see in the trailer where, one of his guys is working on the construction site and he gets attacked, and Jason Statham beats their ass. And I was hoping we'd have a tie-in later that he'd have to do something with them, but they just go away. And there were like 20 of them. So they were ready to kick some ass and wouldn't take that lying down, and they just never come back. Because all it was used as was a plot device for us to know that, this guy doesn't fuck around.
And I assume that was just a local Hispanic mob, if you want to say that. Because they weren't obviously the people in Chicago, the surrounding areas that had the pool that is our antagonist, the Russian mob.
Mm-hmm.
But that seems pretty cool. I mean, Jason Statham's character, I'll just start calling him Levin from here on out, folks, but Levin was prepared. Like, he had a shotgun at the ready, hidden away. It was great. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, he just whipped it out. And, Jenny sees this, and we see it in the trailer, Jenny is like, that was awesome. Mm-hmm. Like, she goes, if anything ever happens to me, you gotta have my back.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone that's ever seen a movie, you now know something's gonna happen to Jenny.
Yep.
So, Jenny, when I said she gets whatever she wants, she was talking to her dad about getting having a celebration for the end of the semester. She's telling him she needs this money to have the celebrations.
And she did an entire spreadsheet on it.
Oh yeah,
she was down to the wire of the
down
amount
to
of
the
money.
penny.
Yeah, and it was, it's not a modest amount, but she was like, it was like $1,700 and some change. And then she's like, "Well, I saved a lot because here's what it could have been."
Yeah, it was big time girl math.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, Dad, I'm saving you money by not doing this. Like it's like those TikTok videos where a girl's like, "Hey, I made $50 today," and he's like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah." Well, how'd you do that? Well, I took stuff back to Target. It's not saving us money. What are you talking about?
They overturned. You're just going, what'd you buy at Target after?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so she goes on this celebration, right, on the town with the girls, and she is clearly very quickly being stalked by some guy to every bar she goes to. And they say like, hey, that's the girl we want. We have to get her, and she gets kidnapped.
With that being said, I do want to say the fella who was, I guess, the kidnappee, the guy who was paying money to have her.
Viper.
Yeah. No, not Viper. The guy, he looked like the Penguin.
That the guy that wanted her.
Yeah, the guy that paid money to get her.
Yeah.
This dude looked like he could be in a DC movie as the Penguin.
Yeah, he was going for that. And now that we know that Chuck Dixon had a hand in this, that's probably what they were going for.
That's a fair point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Viper, though, I loved him as a character. He was such a pansy. I believe Artemis was the other antagonist, the other kidnapper.
Yeah.
And
the woman.
Yeah, she had like a barcode tattooed to her head.
Yeah.
So she always wore a ball cap. It was weird.
You're these massive criminals and you have clear defining tattoos
Yep.
on your head. Like, yeah, that's very like early 2000s action movie. I would say this is probably the first time I'm going to disagree with you. Of all the characters, I thought Viper was the worst.
Really?
To me, he was too cartoony of a villain. Like, I said that when I watched Novocaine, I thought the villain was too cartoony. Mm-hmm. This guy's a little too cartoony for me. He's like, yeah, we're just gonna have fun. We're gonna get money. Oh, we gotta take her. Oh, this sucks. Like, so for all the reasons you liked him, I just didn't like him. Like, but it's the same thing.
Yeah, I agree. I could see where you're coming from there. I liked him as comic relief in this mostly serious movie, and he gets his comeuppance in the end. It's pretty freaking cool.
Sure. Yeah, I would say that, we'll get there, but in terms of endings for stuff like this was one of the more satisfying endings I think that I've seen in a little while. So, which usually happens with action movies, right? It's like bad guys, gotta take them down. You win.
Absolutely.
The good guy wins. You need movies where the good guy wins because that's not all movies.
Yep.
So, yeah. So at first, this part was kind of weird to me. So Jenny goes missing. Her parents go to Levin and ask him like to help, right? And he says no.
Yep.
He tells them no, which I feel like doesn't play into his character. I don't know if it's just because he's worried he's going to lose his daughter if he does something like this.
Speaking of the daughter, we find out that there is a little bit of turmoil before that scene, though.
Yeah.
Levin's wife passed away while he was overseas. Apparently, she took her own life by a suicide, and her father, which would be obviously his daughter's grandfather. I bring that up just because it's what's wrong with granddad and blah blah blah. Right. Did you kill granddad? The daughter is a very good comic relief as well.
Dude,
she's a good actress.
I'm glad we got a kid in a movie I actually liked. I thought she was cool. But yeah, there's clear tension, between the grandfather and the dad, and we find out that's because the grandfather blames, Levin for his daughter taking her own life. So,
yes, like you were saying, Levin says no, and this is after he just, had a meeting with his lawyers, and there was a big, it was ridiculously small amount of custody that he was allowed to have.
He was going to be going from
2 hours.
This is minor, 2 hours a week to 1 hour every 2 weeks
with supervised visitation,
because they were trying to say he has PTSD and all that stuff, and it was a pretty cool moment with Levin. Then Jason Statham is really good at playing a divorced dad. He just is, he has the look, he looks like he listens to Nickelback. He's definitely a divorced dad. But
he was sleeping in his truck at the job site at the beginning. He is there and he's trying to save every penny he can for these lawyer fees and things like that.
But his lawyers present all these things to him, And he goes, I served my country for 25 years, and this is what I get from it, and like through the papers, like it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and then he just throws the 10K out to try and get his lawyers to do whatever.
Yeah.
And mind you, he has this pickup truck. It's a nice truck. I ain't saying he ain't saving money on the side for that and he needs to get to work. This man somehow went through like 6 different rentals throughout the movie.
Yeah.
And wasn't the ending car like a Dodge Charger or something like that?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, which I think was one of the rentals because he used that for one of the stakeouts.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's funny, Jason Statham is, he kind of has the small guy complex in movies where he's always driving a big truck. Like it's just who he is. So.
That's when he meets his one of his old military buddies that I mentioned earlier, Gunny.
Yep.
That Levin ended up saving, ended up getting himself battered up from it, and he saved Gunny's life at the cost of his eyesight.
Right.
He ended up blind. However, this son of a gun, he is just a badass. It's awesome.
Yeah, he is. He's very much like Stick in Daredevil. Like, the fact that he doesn't even know he's blind. I mean, he knows he's blind, but it doesn't stop him. Like, he shoots a bow, and shoots an arrow right by Levin's head, right when Levin arrives. And Gunny's played by David Harbour, who, is great.
Yes.
Like, David Harbour's in, he's going to be in the new Marvel movie coming out next month. And, he's usually the, badass comic relief.
Yes.
Because he looks like a big teddy bear.
He really does. And if you look at his IMDb, I mean, look at that front and center picture of him up here.
Oh, yeah.
He just in a suit. He looks like a big old softy, but he plays a badass, especially when he grows the beard out like he did there.
Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, like you said, he meets Gunny.
And Gunny basically says to him, like, did you really need to come here to ask my permission whenever you already made your mind up?
Right.
And all Gunny had to hear from Levin was, I have her back. And Gunny's like, you gotta do it. It's just, you made your word, you gotta do it.
And, people might complain about that in the plot, but that's a real thing. Like, dudes do that. Like, dudes will, have a conversation with someone and, they have already made up their mind and they're just trying to get that validation from someone, we do it.
Yeah, it's sometimes you just need that little bit of a push to realize, yeah, I am gonna go through with this.
Yep. So yeah, at that moment, Levin goes back to the family of Jenny and says, I'm gonna find her and I'm gonna bring her home, and instantly turns into super badass Jason Statham, ready to roll, has all the gadgets and stuff. Like, yeah, he's gonna start tracking down what happened in this crime. And what's interesting in this movie that I feel like we don't see a lot anymore, but I could be wrong in that. It could be recency bias. There's a crime, and we really don't see any police. We see, Jenny's parents talking to Levin right after the cops left. But, the cops, there's really not any cops in this movie that are good guys.
No, because they brush it off. Even Jenny's mother, Carla, I believe her name was, she had a family member, apparently part of the Philadelphia police. They came to see Jenny's piano recital, but she didn't come back at that point. And the Philadelphia police, which it's sad but true in many aspects in modern day, missing persons like that, they just brush it off. They can only do so much, and that is not the top of the priority in big cities like Chicago where this was taking place.
Right.
But yeah, not a lot of police presence, and we do find out why. And it's not really a spoiler when you see the movie because they flat out say it. Some of the cops are on the mob's payroll, is what comes up. So there's a very good reason as to why Jenny's case isn't really being looked at this point.
Yep. But so, one thing we forgot to mention is when Jenny's out in the town, the last bar she goes to when she gets taken, the bartender had a hand in it.
Yes, Johnny.
Johnny. And so, Levin goes to the bar where she was taken, sees Johnny dealing dope over the counter, and he's like, yeah, I know this guy had something to do with this, and he tracks him to his home.
Yep. And it's as soon as we get that shot as to this fellow at his home, Levin had a tracking device on his car, so he's able to track him to the house. Yeah. Levin picks the lock real smooth. We cut to a shot of Johnny just lighting up a bomb and going nuts.
Yeah, I bumped Jordan and I was like, nice.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, I mean, Johnny's sitting in there getting high. Levin just walks in, and it's so funny because Johnny's high as crap, and he's just like, "Hey, wrong house, bro."
And he's brandishing his shotgun at this point.
Yeah.
He doesn't think a thing of it.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, but yeah, so Levin starts interrogating Johnny, finds out.
Waterboarding in the tub.
Yeah, he's waterboarding him in the tub, and he explains what waterboarding is.
He's like your body and your brain, you know that it's not drowning, but the adrenaline's forcing your body to go and fight or flight.
Yeah.
It's thinking that it's drowning as a result, and it makes you want to talk, doesn't it?
Yeah, but right in the middle of the interrogation, two guys show up.
There's a little one-liner too. You expecting company?
Fucking right I am.
Yep. Yeah, he did Johnny scream out, "You're fucking right I am." And the two guys.
Yeah, and then so Jason Statham's like behind the door with a shotgun ready to push Johnny out, and he goes, "Go. They're gonna kill you."
yeah. And sure as shit, the two Russian gangsters just blast Johnny, and then Levin just blasts him away. Two quick pumps with the shotgun, and
yeah, and it's cool because at this point we have no idea they're Russian gangsters,
yes.
Right? But as soon as he shoots them and walks over and checks their tattoos, it's really funny because he goes, "Russians, shit."
Yep. Gloves on, picks up the blood money, packages up, not to use it. He realizes that this is going to be important to somebody because the money was in little like bank.
They were in a little holster, like a beer belt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was set for deal going on there.
Speaking of beers, thank you Yingling for our beers tonight.
Chesterfield Ale and a good old Yingling Flight.
Yep, Cheech and Chong of beers.
We jump ahead there. I did not catch this mob. He was a higher tier. He was like a mob boss.
What, the dude that's in charge of these people?
Yeah, I don't want to call him a chairman.
He was a captain.
Yeah, captain.
Yeah, I think it's Wolo. I think is his name. Yeah, and that's a pretty famous actor, Jason Fleming. Mm-hmm. So I've seen him in a bunch of stuff. But yeah, he's in the trailer. He's the guy that Jason Statham slaps for slapping his wife.
Yes, that's a good scene as well.
Yeah.
To lead up to that, Jason he's got the thermal optics on the camera. It's got a crazy zoom. Everything else, he's staking out. He sees the slap going. He sneaks in and he punches the guy in the face as he snuck in, makes himself a fucking bagel, and has the guy tied up to this chair with a little pulley to let him know, "I'm going to drop you and drown you if you don't talk to me." Well, and he's just eating a bagel as this guy wakes up.
And it's funny too, right? Because the guy has security cameras everywhere. Does he just not watch them? Because we clearly see Levin walk in on all the cameras and he doesn't see him, and then Levin just grabs a coffee pot and throws hot coffee in his face, and then knocks him out. And then we do have that comedic relief moment where he puts a bagel in the toaster and we're watching the security camera and he's just standing there waiting for his bagel to get ready, because there's a running gag in this movie that Jason Statham's character is always hungry.
Yeah, he never eats. Like, he'll just sit. They said it. If we don't feed you, you're just gonna sit in your truck and eat tuna.
Yeah,
like
canned tuna.
Yeah, canned tuna.
Yeah,
hey, nothing wrong with it. I get the pouches myself for work, but
but yeah, no, it's a pretty funny running gag in the movie for sure. But yeah, so he's got Wolo attached to that rope, right? He's interrogating him. He doesn't really get anything out of him. But Wolo starts yelling at him in Russian.
Yes.
And we have no idea what it is. And so at that point, Levin's like, "I'm done with you." He cuts the rope and he lets him drown in his own pool.
Yes.
Then he walks outside and he was recording the whole time and uses the recording to translate the Russian into English and gets the name of the bad guy.
Demi.
Yeah.
Probably Dimitri. That was never really announced.
No, it was just he always goes by Demi.
Demi. Yeah. That being said, I did enjoy, because you see it a couple times there, the cleaners. It's just this group of ladies, you'd see them at any hotel just working the room service.
Yeah.
And it was awesome because they come in, big old 50-gallon drum, and whenever Johnny's apartment was getting cleaned up, like, they chopped them up, stuffed everything in the barrel, saran wrap. Oh, they were efficient. And same thing with the mob boss here.
I'm assuming that still happens, but story time. So my grandpa had a really good friend who owned a garage, and turns out the guy that owned the garage, his brother was in the Pagans. His brother was a really close friend, right? And one day at the garage, these pagans show up, and they have a barrel, and they're like, "We need you to weld this shut." And he's like, "All right." He's like, "Whatever, I'll do it." He welds it shut. A week later, that barrel is found in the river, and the guy's best friend was cut up in that barrel.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy shit. And that happened, like, I don't know, 40 years ago. Like, so the pagans are, I think they're big everywhere, but they're pretty big here in Central PA.
Yeah, that I have heard that.
Yeah, and that pagan, I don't know if I said it, pagan biker gang.
Yeah.
We'll meet a biker gang later in this movie, which, did we look, is the big dude, is that who I thought it was?
Jump to the, nope, it is.
Oh, I don't know how to say his name.
Chidi.
Click on that. Let's see what else he's in.
The reason we're bringing this up, we thought that he was an individual from WWE. I believe Omos, yes. Yeah. He looks very similar. Omos is like a 7-foot tall, giant, big, muscular son of a gun, yeah. And we both looked at each other and like, is that him?
Yeah, it is not. So
he's been in some. He was in Gladiator
too. One of the Gladiators in Gladiator. Yeah, a bunch of supporting roles.
Yeah, he was in that.
Oh, he's Bunny in The Gentleman. That's where I know him from.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, he was a badass for sure.
He was also in Doom Annihilation. If you folks, we bring up Dwayne the Rock Johnson, and
I don't think that's not the one Dwayne's in though.
It is not. Yeah. Doom Annihilation is I don't want to call it a reboot, but Doom 2016, the reboot of the series, and then Doom Eternal, they basically, hey, we can make another Doom movie. Doom's popular. It's not as bad, but it's definitely another movie.
It's whatever.
Yeah.
It's one of those, like, you know, we talk about it a lot on the podcast. Like, there's a lot of good video game movies recently. Mm-hmm. There's been a long history of very crappy video game movies.
Yes, there has. I've seen quite a few.
Yeah. So yeah, you know, right after he kills that dude, we meet who's supposed to be the big bad, mm-hmm. right? And they go in and start cleaning stuff up, and that's how we figure out who Demi is. Mm-hmm. So he looks at a picture on the mantelpiece, and it's the guy that just died and someone else golfing, and he says, you know, Demi, you've ruined your father's life, basically, and flips the picture. So now we know who Demi is.
Correct. Yeah, and then we go ahead, and this is where Jenny is dropped off to the Penguin, mm-hmm. and she's in a suitcase, a big suitcase. She's not crumped up in there, and this guy is so thorough and weird, and I think it ends up him being like a butcher. He's not even like a sexual deviant. I think he's just a freak that likes to, you know, cut people.
I don't know. I mean, we'll get there, but I think he was just doing that as payback for what happens here. So we don't see it happen, right? But we see him alone with the briefcase, and then we snap back to Viper and his Artemis, who are looking at these fish, right? Mm-hmm. And a bloody hand comes up on the fish tank, and it's the Penguin with a huge gash out of his face, and he yells that Jenny bit him.
That bitch bit me!
Yeah, she like bit half of his face off.
Yeah, she ripped the cheek, and we find out it was like 36 stitches. They had to like put the cheek back up and stuff. You do see him in like gauze then.
Yeah, because she was supposed to be unconscious. That's his kink. They're unconscious.
Yep, she was supposed to be fucking sleeping.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah, basically, shit, my bad.
Yeah, that leads into the Viper just being incompetent.
Yes.
Right? Like, he just is like, oh, I'm so sorry, sir, we'll get it fixed, and like leaves with her. Like he brought her the wrong, like, the steak was too well done for him. Like,
pretty much.
Because that's how they view her, is she's just a piece of meat.
Yes. Human trafficking, man. It's fucked up that happens.
Yeah.
Oh.
In college, so I took kung fu classes at like a local dojo, and it was a part of my curriculum for phys ed. The only reason they were associated with the school was because, so there's a good bit of trafficking in Pittsburgh, especially around the Steelers stadium. Mm-hmm. And there was a girl from my school who was taking classes before it was associated with the school for kung fu, and at the Steelers game, like, they attempted to abduct her, and they're like pulling her into a van, and she used what she learned at the kung fu dojo to fight back. And as soon as that happened, the school was like, we'll pay you whatever you want, teach our kids kung fu.
Good for them. Good for her. That's a great story.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
We go ahead and meet Demi, as you're calling him.
Yep.
And this is where this is after there's a very cool fight scene in a bar with the fellow who we thought was Omos.
Oh yeah.
And
dude, they start playing the song "The Boys Are Back."
Yep.
It was they used a lot of actual songs in this movie, and they were great.
Yeah.
Like they just start playing "The Boys Are Back," and you're like, all right, we're like cracking our knuckles, we're like, we're ready, they're gonna fight, and it was a badass fight scene.
It was a very good fight scene, absolutely. This was so that Levin can go undercover per se to try and get closer and closer to Demi.
Yep.
And it was like Walter White blue crystal meth, like very very Breaking Bad inspired right there.
Right.
For the meth. And he gets...
Which tells me that maybe that's just what meth is. I don't know.
I've always heard it was white. I know Breaking Bad...
well, it's flavored.
That's true. It's not color dyed, but Walter White's meth was blue for a reason. It was the chemical compound, and that's what made it like 97 or 98% pure.
Okay, I've never seen Breaking Bad.
Very very good show. I loved it.
Yeah.
That being said, he gets the meth. It's in a baggie after he pays it. He gets a burner phone and everything else.
Don't skip this part because, it might not be pertinent to the plot, but it was really cool to me. So, after Levin beats up all these guys, like the big gang leader, Dutch, which I don't even know if we ever heard his name, but he's billed on IMDb as Dutch. Dutch, shakes, he like stands up, and it's like that scene in Predator where it's like, you son of a bitch, and like yeah, and then they bond over the fact they were both in the military,
both paratroopers.
So they bond over that, which is cool because that comes back later. Like we get some comeuppance with that later on.
With that being said, he ends up, apologies if you can hear that, my dog wants in. He goes to a diner, he meets people he's supposed to hand the cash off to. He's like, where are my drugs? And basically, it's this guy in a cowboy hat and this other chick who has like this tattoo on her head. It's not the barcode, it's not Artemis, but she has like this tattoo going on her head there. And she points a gun under their table, and it leads to another great line, but he gives the cash, everything's good. And Levin stands up, dumps syrup on this guy's waffles, and says,
just so much syrup.
Yep. He says something along the lines of, don't fuck with me because I know where you are. Yeah, I guess you do.
Yeah.
And then he looks at her and he's like, thanks for not shooting me.
Yeah, that was very funny. Like I said, like Jason Statham's delivery for comedy lines too is always so great.
Yeah, because it's so deadpan.
Yeah,
but
I feel like that's probably how he is too. I feel like I would never see him like belly laugh at anything. Like Jason Statham's definitely a very serious dude. That's usually some of your funniest friends are the ones that's how they deliver lines, right? They're the quiet one, and they just sometimes say stuff that just makes you die.
Absolutely. So he gets in, he dumps the meth. He hasn't cut this one open, but I said to Alex when this happened, he just threw the bag of meth into like this creek on a bridge. And I'm like, he just got that entire county high as a kite when this is said and done. He does it later. He gets more meth. He cuts it and dumps it down the toilet, which, it can be treated and stuff. You're not supposed to put prescription drugs down the toilet to get rid of them to begin with, because it can pollute the water.
It is funny, I don't know if he's concerned or like something, but there's something about his character that anytime he gets something illegal, he immediately deposits it. Like, we didn't talk about it, but when he kills Wolo, the money that you said he stole, he just throws it in the pool with him.
Yeah, he says, like, here's your money back.
Yeah, like anything illegal he doesn't keep. So
he gets to Demi then. He gets another phone call on a burner phone that he was given earlier.
Which he doesn't know who it is.
Correct.
So he's to meet this big important guy. And there's a very funny line that I made sure to take note of. So the Dutch character calls him and says, did you like the product and all this stuff? And then he goes, meet us tomorrow. You're going to meet some high-ranking guys. And he goes, wear a suit. Mm-hmm. And Jason Statham goes, I don't have a suit. Which is funny because in every movie he's in, he's wearing a suit.
Yes.
Every single one.
And he comes in looking like Transporter.
Yeah, he's like, I don't own a suit. And then we get a really funny scene of him getting measured for a suit.
And this is where we learn his real name is actually William Coates, Bill Coates.
I think that was a fake.
Yes, it was a fake ID, but it
Yeah.
was great because I forgot. I heard his name once and it didn't stick with me. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, is his name actually Bill?
Yeah, that I didn't know. I honestly didn't know what his real name was, and I thought that he had just given him his ID. But then I figured out that, he was concerned, right, when they took his ID to check it. And I was like, oh, okay, it's definitely fake.
Yeah, absolutely. Has a good tell for it.
Yeah.
He gets in good with Demi in this case, gets some more product. This is where he flushes down the toilet, which again, I laugh at that. We jump ahead. He goes back to the biker bar at this point, and he's being watched. Like this, obviously it's mob owned and everything. They got thermal cameras on this, and the woman that was at the diner there with the guy in the cowboy hat, she's watching like, son of a bitch, he's back. She calls on the radio. Here comes like 2-3 SUVs of the Russian mob and whatnot. So shit, and he goes and pushes the guy over, steals his bike because he was there, so he knew the key was in it at this point, and takes off. We had a pretty cool chase scene, which it was nice to see Levin on the defensive for once instead of being all badass and whatnot.
It was funny though, because like there's two SUVs and they're shooting, like the one in the back is shooting, and I'm like, how are you gonna hit him? Like, they're in this narrow, like, motorcycle trail basically, and they're trying to shoot him, and it goes a little bit, and then we see a police cruiser straight ahead, and Levin wrecks the motorcycle into the cruiser.
Yes.
And then sure enough, the cops get out, and you're like, oh, the cops are gonna help him, and the Tweedledee and Tweedledum show up and hand cash to the cop. The cop knocks Levin out, and they go away.
Yep, and this is, you're on the fucking payroll too.
Yeah.
And sure as shit they are, and that comes back.
So then they lock him up in the back of this van, and obviously it's Levin, so he's gonna escape, and he does. He defeats the guys and pushes their van into the river and lets it go away.
I did like the scene. I like that scene for the him and one of the goons, while the other one, when he's being choked out and he's fighting the gun for the one guy.
Yeah.
They shoot the driver and they both just like look at each other like side-eyed for a second.
Because they like blow his head off.
Yeah,
dude.
like just poof.
Yeah.
Very good use of a claw hammer. Good on him there. He is a working man after all.
Yeah. Yeah. The glider.
Where did I put that? Was that before or after? There was a point where I just wrote down in my notes, they said the title of the movie because somebody said he's a working man.
So it was Dutch. So
that's what it was.
Shakes his hand. He goes, "Look at those bricks."
You're a working man.
He goes, "You're no cop. You're a working
man." And I just, the Family Guy joke, like, he said it.
Leonardo DiCaprio meme, like pointing.
He gets out, pushes the van in the river. Some more exposition comes on because I'll say it was like a mob chairman, like a branch of the overall mob at this point. The two, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, as you called them, they were his boys. They were his actual blood children.
Well, Wolo was his actual brother.
Yes, this is because Demi is his nephew.
Yeah.
So all that goes on. We get some exposition. Here come like two sub bosses at this point. You thought Tweedledee and Tweedledum looked like Gopniks. These guys look like Gopniks that are fucking, just doped out of their mind. Yeah. Like the outfits they were wearing fit right into a John Wick movie. Or some antagonists.
And this was a very John Wick feeling scene because it's like all the mob bosses are sitting together, right? And we figure out that this guy we thought was the big boss isn't. He's going to them, like going to Don Corleone basically and asking for help. And because Demi is hiding, and they know somehow Demi's involved. And it was cool because I was really concerned at that point in the movie because we were getting pretty late. I was like, the mob bosses said, we'll help you find Demi. I didn't want that to take a long time.
Correct.
And it didn't. Immediately they find Demi. They go to this club and there he is.
It was a very good exposition and then Deus Ex Machina to get to him right away.
Immediate cut, which I liked because I didn't want this to be a super long movie. Right?
Yeah, and you agreed with me. They were very John Wick-esque. It was the first movie where they're explaining Baba Yaga, and they're showing everything. They're giving you everything you need right there to get to the next point where the action starts coming.
Yep.
Up to this point, then Grandpa's house is lit on fire, and I love that he was doing Pilates.
So in order for that to happen, for it to make sense for the listeners, like they have a picture of Levin, and they show it to Demi. And Demi immediately is like, "Oh wow, like I know who that guy is. I barely met him, but like he's dealing my drugs."
Yeah, and his uncle was like, "You fucker, he's using you or something."
Right, he's hunting.
Yeah, he's hunting you.
Yeah, he said he's hunting you. And they use like facial recognition software and figure out who he is. So then they go to the grandpa's house, and it's a really funny way they shot it because not a word is spoken, but the grandpa's doing yoga and he's like this, right, like in front of his TV, and you look and one of the henchmen's behind him doing the same thing.
This skinny little fucker that uses like an M16 M246, I believe is the proper term.
At least that's what Call of Duty calls it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's legit or not, but like a big, like the heavy assault class machine gun in a video game, folks. Yeah. And he's just the skinniest little twerp. The jacket's what fills him out. He's back there doing the tree pose as well. Yeah. And then this big motherfucker comes in, and he's just gun in hand, like chain or some shit there, and he's just like, and then they cut out because Levin's daughter's school calls and says, "Hey, her granddad hasn't picked him." He's like, "Okay, I'm on my way."
Which I was very happy about that too, because in most movies, what would happen is that the villains are just at the school and they take the kid.
Yes, I was thinking
and that didn't happen, and I was glad it was, because then what that would do is, you got to think about this practically. I know it's a movie, we don't have to, but he's so focused on finding Jenny, right? And now if his daughter's gone too, like, what are we going to do? Like, how are we going to wrap this up unless they all come together? Which, honestly, they kind of shoehorned the Jenny being where she was at the end. But, we'll get there. But, yeah, he picks his daughter up and asks his daughter, like, hey, have you heard from your grandpa? No. And then she has his location on her phone.
To find mine.
He's like, it was Life 360. They actually used Life 360. Sick. Yeah. And she's like, he's at home. So they go home, and, the house is on fire. Yep. But he's not dead. Levin actually goes in and saves him.
Yep. So. And the granddad had a touch of growth there because he's like, just violent. It was the running theme with the granddad and Levin is just violence follows you everywhere you go. You're not fit to blah, blah, blah. And Levin's daughter stands up for him and says, he could have left you in there to die, but he didn't. And the granddad's like, I acknowledge that.
Yeah, he's like, I can acknowledge
that. We'll talk about this later. You take care of her.
Yep. And then, so what, Jason Statham's character does then is he takes her over to stay with Gunny.
Yes, Gunny and his wife, and he couldn't think of a safer place to be. In the middle of the woods, Gunny, not being able to see it don't freaking matter. That man's Daredevil at this point with
guns. He's got a whole arsenal. Well, yeah, because he shows up, right, and they're talking, and it's really funny because, the only time we really see Levin smile is when he's talking to Gunny, and they have a good bit of comedy there between the two. And Gunny's like, let me show you something. And we see this in the trailer. He opens the door and shows him how many guns he has.
Yeah. He's getting a hard on about the AKs, and then he talks about the M16. He's like, the M14. This is...
You remember this? He's like, I wish I didn't.
Yep. And that's what he takes. And he's like, we got to scrape the serial numbers off. And Gunny's like, already done. These don't exist. They were never here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. So then, that's when we snap into, all right, this is time. Like, he's going to go whole hog John Wick. And he goes and finds Demi. Kills every single gang member in that.
Really cool scene.
Demi's still in the same club he was in when the other guys came in. Yeah, he's
just doing lines of coke and trying to figure out what the fuck am I gonna do. And he's just making it so much worse for himself.
Yeah. So Levin defeats all the guys, and then he takes Demi with him. He doesn't kill Demi because he says it. He's concerned that he won't be able to find the girl if he does. So he takes Demi with him. But we get such a satisfying thing here, and I'm so glad we did. Demi takes him to where Jenny's being held, and then, Levin starts talking to Demi, and he's like, you realize she's a person. He goes, man, dollar bills, it doesn't matter where the money comes from. The money doesn't care. And then Levin kills him.
Yeah,
he kicks him into this water, and he shoots him up.
I had to make note of it because Demi said along the lines of, if I wasn't doing it, somebody else would. And Levin said, do you have a daughter? Demi says no, and he says, then you wouldn't understand. Then he does. Oh, that was such a satisfying freaking way to kill him. Yeah. Just that it hit good.
Well, and that's kind of a thing we see in mafia like media, right? Like if you ever played Mafia 2, that's the one thing that guy says. He's a drug dealer, and he's like, I don't do it. I'm not making them do it. If I didn't sell it, someone else would.
Yeah.
And that's such a fucked way of thinking about things.
Yeah.
But it makes sense that people probably have that mindset.
Oh yeah, it helps them sleep.
Yeah.
That's whatever helps the person sleep.
Yeah.
Jenny is playing the Moon Knight Sonata, however you say that.
Sure. Yeah, she's really good on the piano. Yeah, she's playing that because there's a big party there, like.
And it was cool because they played it. They built that up, and then they played like I don't want to call it a remix, but they overlap. Yeah, they overlap some music while using that as the bass.
Yeah, while Levin's shooting and killing everyone outside.
Yes, it was really good.
Yeah, really well done. The use of music, like I said, the use of music in this movie was awesome.
Yes. Yeah. Bring us to the climactic ending there. He shoots up this whole
on Wikipedia it says, so Levin kills Demi and he proceeds to mow down every criminal in his path.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's cool because at this moment too, we also get a lot of all of our people coming together, and we missed it, so I should go back and talk about shoehorning Jenny, right? So Viper and Artemis are driving Jenny somewhere to kill her, right? And she breaks free and runs away, and she sees a cop car.
Yes.
And goes up to it, and it's the bad cop, and the cop's like, yeah, I'll take you home, and then takes her to the compound.
Yeah, the crack shack.
Yeah.
The crack shack that had one of the nicest freaking casinos for looking like a Western of all things.
Yeah. But it was cool. So at this moment, we get the biker gang finds out that Levin's going to this compound, and they show up.
Yep, because they're under the mafia as well.
Yep. So ready to fight, and then once they go in and start fighting, then the bad cops show up. But the bad cops aren't known by everyone, and so skinny trenchcoat guy turns and kills the cops.
Oh, he blows at the smithereens.
Which was so satisfying because I really thought those cops were just nothing was going to happen to them. And no, he blows them to high hell.
I think I heard him scream too as the car exploded. I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, they annihilated them.
Yeah.
David Ayer had something to say about police, I think. David Ayer's an ACAB guy.
For shoot. But all that happens. We're at the point where the Penguin's upstairs. He's getting ready to butcher Jenny a little bit. Wonder what you look like from the inside.
Very Penguin. And I talked earlier about the Butch or Dutch thing where they were friends, right? Like Levin and Dutch start fighting, and Dutch kills him, and he's like, "I'm sorry, brother."
Other way around. Levin kills Dutch.
That's what I meant.
Yep.
Yeah. Levin kills Dutch.
The movie ended right there. It was wild.
Cut to black. Cut to black. And Levin walks in and Dutch shoots him in the face.
Yep. And then it was like God of War Ragnarok, and Thor comes up, not over yet.
Yeah, but Levin kills Dutch, and it's really brutal because like he stabs him with a
knife.
He
tells him finish it.
Yeah, like because Levin goes, "My fight wasn't with you," and he's like, "I know, but finish it." And he just kicks the knife into his
just right in the throat.
Yeah,
closes the eyes out of respect and takes his hat off even just to show respect.
And then he goes, and I loved this so much. He goes upstairs to save Jenny, and he opens the door, and the Penguin's standing there, and the Penguin's like, "How dare you walk in here?" And he just shoots him.
He fucking flew into that pool.
Yeah, he annihilated him. I looked over at you during the movie, and I was like, he kind of looks like a hobbit. He looks like if the Penguin existed in Middle Earth.
Yeah, I could see that.
That's what he looked like. Yep. Because he had a cape on, he had like the eyeglass, I think, the top hat. So he just immediately shoots him, and then it's very satisfying because Viper, this whole movie, nothing has really happened to him, and Levin just beats the fuck out of him.
His jaw was dislocated.
Yeah, and then he broke his neck, like curb stomped him. Yeah, and but Jenny gets her moment because Jenny kills Artemis.
Yeah,
Jenny grips her around the neck with her legs and choked her to death. Like
snapped her neck. Yep. And then we get a working man's skills as Levin find a sledgehammer conveniently there.
Which is that in Beekeeper that he has a sledgehammer or what? There's a movie with him recently that he has a sledgehammer.
It might have been Beekeeper. Okay. But it was funny. Just he knocks the pipe off, and Jenny's there. It cuts to another scene, and she has the chain stretched out, and he breaks out with a fucking sledgehammer, and she's like, "Oh."
Yeah, but then they start to leave, and then
The sub bosses are
the
there.
sub bosses show up, and it's a really cool kill. I think I'm a little mad the trailer gave it away because they show that kill in the trailer. But
it's trailer worthy.
Yeah, he has a Bluetooth scope and shoots him through that.
Yeah, he's looking at his phone or a little camera feed in his chest, and he's like, "Ah, get this fucker."
Yeah, and shoots him. And Jenny at this time, Jenny's just throwing one-liners out, and she's like, "What was that?" And he goes, "Bluetooth."
And then he pulls a grenade for the other guy, which smallest freaking grenade I've ever seen in media. And she's like, "Is that a grenade?" He's like, "Cover your ears."
And he throws it perfectly, and it lands right under the guy. And the guy's like,
"Yeah, that was so
up.
good." I will say a small thing that I noticed. He knocks the spoon off right away in the grenade. He's cooking it in his head.
Oh yeah,
as he tosses.
He did that a couple times.
Yes,
because when he first entered the building, he was cooking a grenade too. Yeah,
and it just you could see it. Like he didn't. It wasn't mouthing, but you could see it in his expression. Just you knew he was counting, getting ready to toss it. Yeah. I thought that was a nice little detail.
Well, and Gunny made a comment earlier which showed you like who Levin is, because Gunny goes, "If you go into this whole force, nobody's gonna stop you."
Yep.
Like they can't stop you.
And it's just Statham, so yeah.
Yeah. And then we get kind of a weird like, are they making a sequel thing? So like he drives away, right, with Jenny, for the big climactic ending, we think. And
gets her home.
And the big mob boss from earlier, the brother of the guy that died in the pool, is standing out there not doing anything, and then he calls the mob boss and is like, he's still alive, and the mob boss is like, let him go.
It's not the family's concern.
Right.
It's not hurting the business.
Yeah.
And he's like, but my children died. And he's like, business comes before family. You know that. And you get this really weird like scream.
Yeah, this primal scream. He hangs up because he's lost everything.
He has,
and it's finally setting in. But yeah, he hangs up the phone, does a primal scream, and then I was convinced he was going to come back like in a fourth act, which would have been really cool. But yeah, he takes Jenny home. Everyone's happy. Then he goes to pick up his daughter, and you know, at this moment we're with Gunny, and I wanted so badly, and I told Jordan, I was like, it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. The mob boss is going to show up, and either Gunny's going to die, or Gunny's going to kill him.
I really wish that the latter would have happened, that he shows up and Gunny just, had the bow.
Yeah,
somehow.
he just opens the door and just kills him.
Yeah, just...
But no, it did just, they sit there and they have a meal and the credits run.
Yeah, fade to black. So, happy ending in the end there. Jenny and the family are back together, which is great.
Yep.
There wasn't any sexual deviancy, so if you're a little squeamish to that, folks, don't worry about that.
Yeah, not at all. They allude to it, but never once does it happen.
No, and
there's no torture or anything either. They allude to it again, but no, this is a pretty straightforward action movie.
Yeah, and that's like I said, I didn't cringe at it in Rambo because it's a reality of the world we live in, unfortunately. But I'm like, that's to the extreme.
And I was concerned when I saw Statham wrote this that was what was going to happen.
Yeah, but
so. Or not Statham, Stallone wrote it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, yeah, I really, really enjoyed it, dude. Like I said, like I told Jordan, I wish that this had come out in the summer because this would be the perfect drive-ins movie.
Absolutely. But you would have had a lot of people really enjoying the movie there.
Yep.
Everybody pulling in. It would have been a great crowd. I will say there were some older heads there when we were watching it there in the theater tonight. I was happy to hear that it was a positive reaction to the crowd.
Oh yeah, everybody was laughing, having a good time, and they didn't clap, which I loved.
Yeah, yeah, good movie, good movie.
Because I did go to see Snow White the other day, and people were clapping. I hope they were kids, but I don't know. But
I get it. You're excited. It's like whenever somebody lands a plane, like.
You know what? No, though nowadays I'd be clapping.
Yeah, shoot.
Yeah, nowadays I'd clap if it landed. I don't know if I'm gonna get on a plane again, dude.
Yeah.
But talking about the drive-ins, a little plug here for our local drive-in, Midway Drive-In in Mifflintown, Pennsylvania. We're now an official sponsor of them, so we have our Real Friends podcast banner up. So yeah, go show them some love. I think we're gonna review every movie they put out probably. We love the drive-ins.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about going to the movie theater, go to the movie theater, but even drive-ins, almost every drive-in is owned by a local family. They're obviously struggling because it's cheaper to go see them, right? So they need to make up that money in food and stuff like that. So yeah, go to your local drive-in. They're awesome.
Shout out to Midway though, because man, their food's always been reasonably priced.
Their pizza, dude. They make
Uh-huh.
full pizzas. They're great. Yeah, I go to the Midway Drive-In all the time. So yeah, check them out. But yeah, we're an official sponsor of them, so that's pretty cool.
Congrats on that. That's awesome.
Yeah, man, it's for all of us. So, yeah, that's a Working Man. You know, normally we don't give ratings, but I think since we just saw this, we might as well. So on IMDb's 10-star scale, what would you give it?
What would I give it?
Yeah.
Cliche action movie, everything else. I'd give it a 7. I'd say it was above average. It was a good movie for an action flick. The plot that wasn't insulting to your intelligence or anything like that. Straightforward, and I had a good time watching it. I haven't seen a good action movie in a while, so this was a nice little refresher dipping my toes back into it.
I'm right there with you. It's a definition of a 7 to me. You know, it's a really good movie. It's not anything spectacular. Like, it's not gonna win any Oscars, anything like that. But it is a movie you put on. You can put it on in the background at a party, have a great time. I loved it. I thought it was really, really cool. So.
Give it a few months, folks. If you have cable still, you're going to be seeing it on TNT for sure.
Honestly, go see it in the theater, because I would say see it in the theater.
Absolutely,
because of the way they use music.
Yes.
Like the music and the gunfighting and stuff is really, really cool in a theater. But yeah, this is a movie that will be on TV.
Your dad will be watching this in his recliner when it pops on.
Instead of Expendables or Roadhouse, this will be on TV. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you would recommend people to see it?
Yeah, it was a fun time. Give it a go.
Nice. Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, any final thoughts on this, or you think we...
Not on the movie itself. I mean, for what it was worth, I agree with you. See it in the theaters. It's a very music-based, music done well in the movie type deal. But other than that, no, I was glad I was able to see it. It was a nice way to wind down after the week.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's a really fun time. So like I said, this is a special episode because we're recording it when the day the movie came out. So we're gonna put this out right away Monday morning. So you know you'll be able to start your week with this. And the reason I want to do this is so that hopefully it gets out there and more people hear about it and they go see it. Give me 100 of these, dude. Like, bring these kind of action movies. Stop making them Netflix originals. Put them back in the theater. Let me see these, because these are so much fun. It drew a crowd. Like, I don't know if Statham just draws a crowd or what it is, but, you know, like I said, I went to see Death of a Unicorn today and nobody was there. And that's a pretty big A24 movie with a big cast, a well-known cast. So, yeah, go see this movie. It's fun, and you'll have a great time. But that has been this episode of the Real Friends podcast. Thanks for coming on, Jordan.
I appreciate you having me, and till next movie we watch.
Absolutely. And like I said before, Back to the Future's done now. So let us know the next film series you want us to dive into.
Well, I gotta say, I did have a couple thoughts there while I have you here yet. I was thinking, they're so shitty. I wouldn't mind tearing into the Resident Evil movies, at least the first two. That and the first one and Apocalypse, I think.
That wouldn't be bad. I've actually never seen those. So
have you played the games?
Yes.
You're gonna be in for a
ride. And I think there's a Resident Evil TV show coming out for Netflix.
If it's done by the people that did the Castlevania one, it'll be decent.
So yeah, we can dive into that. So if you guys want us to do that, let us know. If you think of another movie trilogy you want us to do, let us know. But yeah, again, that's been the Real Friends podcast, and we'll see you next time.